Hi there, I'm Apatros, and this is the Apatros Review. After having one hell of a run in the 1980s B-action market with his studio Cannon Films, only for Cannon to go bankrupt in the late 1980s, after a string of successive flops, although the 1985 film Life Force was a legitimate good movie ahead of its time, and only having one true hit at the end period, the cult classic 1989 Jean-Claude Van Damme martial arts powerhouse Cyborg, before spending the rest of their short remaining existence issuing direct-to-video B-movies. The very last Cannon film was American Cyborg Steel Warrior, sort of a direct-to-video version of Cyborg, which itself was Cannon's last theatrical movie, weirdly ironic. One of Cannon's legendary head honchos, Menahem Golan, formed a successor company called 21st Century Pictures. He was not the only one. Several of his former associates teamed together to form their own successor with New Image, which proved surprisingly successful and robust with a presence in the direct-to-video B-action market from the 1990s up until the late 2010s. A little bit of wind here. The new Golan powerhouse of 21st Century Pictures only turned out a couple of noteworthy films, such as Charles Bronson's last theatrical film, Death Wish 5: The Face of Death, which by the way went direct-to-video in Australia, I had the tape, and the 1999 Tom Savini remake of Night of the Living Dead, a surprisingly good remake and one of the best Romero rejigs so far, before the studio went bust by 1994, shortly after Cannon Films did. The subject of this review is one of the last of those 21st Century Pictures titles, a direct-to-video rejig of the Delta Force, called Deadly Heroes, which was directed by Menahem Golan himself. This came out in 1993. Only without Chuck Norris or Lee Marvin, this time replaced the B-movie working-class action hero Michael Pare and the ever-so-awful Jan Michael Vincent, an actor notorious for laying his love for the bowl doing his acting for him and not being asked enough to learn his lines. A team of terrorists armed with some plastic Uzis that had been modified to fire real bullets. Judging by the stated specs, these bullets were made from plastic coated nickel, and these plastic weapons have internal 50-round magazines. Taking the size of these weapons into consideration, these must be either multiple magazines stacked together and operated by an automatic switching mechanism, or these are very tiny bullets from one regular magazine. These are also disposable weaponry, never meant to be reloaded without being taken apart. Now these terrorists take these weapons and head to an Athens airport in Greece to hijack a passenger plane so they can trade the hostages for their leader, notorious terrorist Jose Maria Carlos, played by perennial villain actor Billy Drago, who does the usual thing here. They manage to achieve their plan, but not without running into some hiccups. A young boy spots their toy Uzis by chance. Look, I know this film was made in 1993, but long before airport security got seriously juiced up thanks to the bastards who pulled off 9/11, but even back then, it would have been seriously stupid for some bloke to have his gun poking out of his trench coat, regardless of it being a toy or not. These terrorists trained in their brains for their ferocity. The boy's father, who happens to be a former Navy SEAL turned CIA operative, named Brad Katowski, Michael Pare, what deals with that? Informs security, only leading to the terrorists reacting violently and gunning down 19 people, according to local Greek news. Info you and the rest of the audience only see about half that bloody count being dropped, mostly airport security, and one chick who owns a souvenir shop. Despite being wounded, Brad attempts to rescue his wife Marcy, who was kidnapped, but ultimately fails, because wounded and has to spend time in the hospital, and the terrorists get away. After succeeding in freeing Carlos from American captivity and releasing all the hostages except for Marcy, Carlos has a liking for her, the terrorists head to North Africa to Carlos' private pad for celebration. Meanwhile, Brad and his former commander Cody Grant plan a rescue mission to retrieve Marcy and book Carlos and his terrorist henchmen an economy-class plane ticket to hell. Deadly Heroes is a thoroughly disappointing film to be sure. The plot is filled with a range of implausibilities. Michael Pare is brutally tortured for hours, yet when his wife breaks him out of the terrorist brig, he's back to peak fighting form. The local taxi drivers know fully well the terrorists are holed up in their president's private military beach compound, which is strictly off-limits to civilians to the point that anyone who arrives there wrongly is later found dead, yet several taxi drivers are willing to risk their lives for about 300 US buckaroos to drive some strangers there. And the acting is pretty unconvincing. Look, to be fair, Jan Michael Vincent is actually reasonable here, probably since this role requires less lines for him to refuse to learn, but Claudette Mink is hopeless as Michael Pare's abducted wifey. Billy Drago, however, is in top form. That being said, the action scenes are modestly entertaining, and the story moves at a fairly decent clip. A little bit wind here. Fans of direct-to-video B-action movies might want to pick this one up if they come across it for a slow night, but unless you're a fan of the actors involved or wants to add some Menahem Golan action cheese, this was something of a wild card. Now for gore nudity, plenty of B-action bullet squibs going off people's chests, but no serious gore effects. While Claudette Mink is exposed on at least 3 occasions, but you only get to see a clear view of her breasts once. Even then, you need to pause the film as her boobies are only out in the open for literally 2 frames of a second. I count the frames. Okay. Now, my review copy is from the Australian VHS tape from MRA Entertainment, a label that existed from the late 1990s up until the late 2000s, dealing with both B-market films and public domain material. Their horror films were among the first horror DVDs I ever bought, all the way back in 2002. The tape has no preview trailers, meaning this tape was meant purely for retail purposes, never for the rental market. I give Deadly Heroes a D+, which is a 3 out of 10. It's disappointing and mediocre. Okay, it's a D+. If you have any questions, comments, or associated trivia for the review subject, you can leave in the comments. I'll be happy to respond. Hope you guys are staying safe, stay easy, and see ya. Quite a bit of wind here.